Kris Kristofferson. I remembered him from A Star is Born and other things. Of course, I also remember him from being part of the supergroup The Highwaymen. Well, the songwriter and the actor unfortunately has passed away at the age of 88. And we will take a look at his life and more. You're watching BS3 Presents The Morning Shift with Cole Johnson on Roku TV via BS3, BS3TVLive.com, and the BS3 Morning Shift Cole Johnson YouTube channel. You're listening to it live on Real Wise Radio. And it starts right now. Well, good morning, Shifter. It is the last day of September. It doesn't sound right that, wow, this show has been 5 months in existence, and I can actually say we are now in the throes of autumn. September 30th, 2024. Happy podcasting, International Podcasting Day as well. And welcome to BS3 Presents The Morning Shift with Cole Johnson. I am Cole Johnson. And for the next 60 minutes, sit back and relax as we get and keep you enthralled, enlightened, entertained, informed, and spiritually fed. Now, along with paying our respects to one Kris Kristofferson, we will definitely touch on the devastation that has taken place in the Southeast due to hurricane and tropical storm and even tropical depression, Helene. It has been devastating. That's our program Spotlight segment. In the Lighting the Way segment, we're going to touch on the narrow gate. What does it mean by having a life on earth that walks you through a narrow gate? Well, we'll touch on that and lighten the way. And all of that we have mentioned will be later. But for now, let's start you up. And here's what's happening in the world today. I said, here's what's happening in the world today. Thank you. I knew something was wrong. Donald Trump is no longer a stranger to, well, he's no stranger to college football, period. Based on his track record, he just might be an Alabama Crimson Tide fan. Well, Saturday night's game against Georgia was the Republican presidential nominee's third time watching the football team in the flesh, and his second watching the Crimson Tide beating the Bulldogs. The Bama Crimson Tide, they pulled out a thrilling 41-34 victory over Georgia. However, it was Trump's first time sitting in Bryant-Denny Stadium without the title of president. Earlier this month, Trump showed up at the Cyhawk series to watch the Hawkeyes and and the Cyclones, Iowa and Iowa State. Maybe the Cyclones' 2019 thriller inspired him to lock down the suite for what was touted as the game of the year between Alabama and Georgia, two teams ranked in the top 5 nationally. Republican Jeff Flake of Arizona, he is crossing party lines to endorse a Democrat for the second presidential election in a row. He backed Joe Biden 2020, and he's now backing Kamala Harris. Now, Flake said in an interview at the Now Coffee Shop in Mesa on Saturday, quote, "I'm a conservative. I believe in the rule of law. First and foremost, I want to support a presidential candidate that respects the rule of law, somebody who, if they lose an election, wouldn't try to use the presidential powers to overturn said election." Close quote. Well, rule of law and the rule of common sense in the law, in the jungle of politics, sometimes it just doesn't make sense, right? Yeah. More than 30 years after she launched her modeling career, Heidi Klum is still achieving new milestones. The America's Got Talent judge walked during the Vetements Spring and Summer 2025 fashion show on Thursday, making her the first official Paris Fashion Week runway. Making her first, or I should say, runway. The German model, who's known for her blonde tresses, debuted a shoulder-length wavy hairstyle with front bangs. She wore a custom all-black Vetements look from creative director Guram Gvasilia, which was featured atop with red policier, a floor-length trench coat which had policier embroidered across the back, and leather pants. Travis Scott, Gigi Hadid, Barbara Palvin, and Stella Maxwell were among the other high-profile figures who strutted down the runway. John Ashton. He was in Colorado on September 26th. Unfortunately, he has passed away. The family issued this statement on his behalf. Quote, John was a loving husband, brother, father, and grandfather who will be deeply missed by all who knew him. His memory will forever be treasured by his wife, children, grandchildren, as well as his brothers, sisters, and his extended family, and all who loved him. Close quote. Now, if you don't know the name, you definitely know the character that he played. Ashton starred as the cop who turned into actually police chief, John Taggart, opposite Eddie Murphy in the Beverly Hills Cop franchise, beginning with the original 1984 film. Of course, he returned for the sequel, and then he reprised his role again in earlier this year's Beverly Hills Cop Axel F. Our condolences to the family. John Ashton, the actor who is known most famously as John Taggart in the Beverly Hills Cop film series, has died at the age of 76. And more bad news to pass along, actor Drake Hogestyn. Now, you might not know that name either, but you might know him by his character name of John Black. Now, he played that character for nearly 40 years. He battled pancreatic cancer, and his family shared a statement on the show's verified Instagram account of his unfortunate passing, saying, quote, it's with heavy hearts that we announce the passing of Drake Hogestyn. He was thrown the curveball of his life when he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, but he faced the challenge with incredible strength and determination. And after pulling up an unbelievable fight, he passed peacefully, surrounded by his loved ones. He was the most amazing husband, father, papa, and actor. Drake Hogestyn, a fixture on the long-running soap Days of Our Lives. He is dead at the age of 70. Now, from death to life, Kurt Cobain's daughter and Tony Hawk's son have welcomed their first child together. Frances Bean, of course, daughter of the late by 30 years, Nirvana frontman Kurt, confirmed, and of course, child of Courtney Love, confirmed in an Instagram post on Saturday that she welcomed the child with her husband, Riley Hawk, who is Tony Hawk's son, the famous skateboarder's son. She shared multiple photos of the baby boy, who was born September 17th, including one with him held by his father. Cobain also posted a picture in an Instagram story accompanied by the John Lennon song Beautiful Boy. Quote, Ronan Walker Cobain Hawk. Welcome to the world, most beautiful son. We love you more than anything. Close quote. Jussie Smollett has faith he'll get justice. The actor and former Empire star, who was found guilty in 2021 of staging a racist and homophobic attack back in January of 2019, has reflected on healing from the legal ordeal in an interview with People magazine that was published over the weekend, saying, quote, I moved on, and I know that the world one day, and it might be long after I'm gone, who knows, but one day the world is going to fix this. I just can't wait for that to happen because I have a life to live. but the world is going to fix it all. Close quote. In December 2021, Smollett, of course, who is black and is homosexual, was found guilty on 5 counts of disorderly conduct and 1 count each. Separate time, he was charged with lying to police in the days immediately after the alleged attack. Smollett told police someone put a noose around his neck and yelled racist and homophobic slurs. According to police, he also told detectives the attackers yelled, quote, "This is MAGA country," close quote, before fleeing the scene. In minus 20-degree weather. Come on, son. Goodness gracious. The following sports update is brought to you by the Playmakers Blog Network. Stop smoking that stuff, son. Anyway. Major League Baseball action, you have the proud Chicago White Sox owner, Jerry Reinsdorf, who really could give two, well, I won't say it that way. He labeled his team's record season embarrassing and a failure after setting the all-time worst regular season in Major League Baseball history over the weekend. Reinsdorf released a letter to the fans before the regular season finale, and it read as follows. Quote, "By all measures, our on-field performance this season was a failure. As the leader of this organization, this is my ultimate responsibility. There are no excuses." Close quote. Open up the purse string, son. White Sox would go on and be inspired by that ridiculous message with the 9-5 victory over the Tigers, and he finished the season 41-121. Oh. From the ridiculous to the more sublime, the playoffs have not been decided yet. The National League pennant race is waiting for the final 2 wildcard slots to be filled, and the 3 teams that are hoping to actually have a chance to have it be filled would be the Arizona Diamondbacks, the Atlanta Braves, and the New York Mets. Unfortunately for the Diamondbacks, their season is done with an 89-73 record, and they are now on pins and needles praying that in the upcoming doubleheader today between the Braves and the Mets in Atlanta, the Diamondbacks are hoping that the Braves sweep the Mets or the Mets sweep the Braves. And if that happens, the Diamondbacks are in the playoffs. If the 2 teams split the doubleheader, that means both the Braves and the Mets advance and the Diamondbacks go bye-bye. To the NBA action now. Karl Anthony Towns, he now is a Knick. He no longer is a Timberwolf. They finalized a blockbuster trade from Saturday that sent him to the Big Apple and all-star Julius Randle, or Mr. He's Going Left, to the Twin Cities. Oh, and along with it, Dante DiVincenzo will also be moved along with Randle to Minnesota, along with the 2025 top 13 protected first-round draft pick. Now to the WNBA. The Minnesota Lynx star player Napheesa Collier wins Defensive Player of the Year. Congratulations, Napheesa. And she beat out the MVP, Aisha Wilson. So, a mighty accomplishment. So, congratulations, Napheesa. Collier wasn't alone in getting an award, as her coach, Cheryl Reeve, won Coach of the Year and Executive of the Year. Oh, and the Connecticut Sun's DeJounte Carrington, she won Most Improved Player in the WNBA. The semifinals began, and it began in earnest, with the Aces and the Liberty going at it, and the Brooklyn Liberty, New York Liberty, they won 87-77 in Game 1 of the semifinals yesterday. They lead that series 1-0. And the Lynx, they're now fighting uphill, as they had that home game against the Sun, but the Sun came away with a 73-71 victory over the Lynx. So that means the Liberty and the Sun are up 1-0 in the best-of-5 semifinals. And finally, to the NFL, The Kansas City Chiefs and Rashee Rice look like they're going to be parting ways sooner than anticipated. Now, in the upcoming possible suspension that will happen to him, the wide receiver suffered a torn ACL in his right knee against the Chargers. We'll get further clarification with the MRI that will be conducted later on today. Now, to the college gridiron on Saturday, we had Kansas State putting a whooping on the Mullets. Oklahoma State, 42-20. We had Notre Dame, the Golden Domers. They actually had a good performance, 21 points in the first quarter, and they held on to beat Louisville, 31-24. Colorado, the 12-point underdogs in Orlando, facing off against Central Florida. They put a whooping on them, 48-21. The Aggies, why are they ranked? I digress. They beat the Razorbacks in Dallas, 21-17. The game of the week, or the game of the weekend in college football, obviously, was the Georgia-Alabama tilt in Tuscaloosa. Alabama jumped out of the 28-7 lead. Georgia came storming back to take a lead, 34-33, before a 75-yard pass, touchdown pass from Monroe to Williams made the decision there. 41-34 was the final score. The Crimson Tide beat Georgia yet again. And then Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin, they do Lane Kiffin things. They hosted Kentucky, and they took a 20-17. Yeah, do better, Lane. Now, on to Sunday. And you had the Saints and the Falcons. Both teams went in actually winning their season series the same amount of times. But the Falcons now edged ahead with a 26-24 victory. I know it says 27, but it was actually 26-24 over the Saints. The Vikings, they beat the Packers 31-29. The Steelers, unfortunately, they notched their first L of the season. They went to Indy and lost 27-24 to the Colts. And the Colts may have also lost in losing Anthony Richardson. The Eagles, speaking of losses, they looked horrible in Tampa, 33-16. And the game wasn't even that close. The defending back-to-back champs, they put the clamps down on the Chargers. They beat them 17-10. And on Sunday Night Football, the Ravens literally ran all over the Bills, 35-10. Turning attention to weather across the country, brought to you by the Weather Channel. And over in the Pacific Northwest, we are looking at mostly sunny skies with a high of 67 in Seattle. We are looking at skies with a high of 86 in Minneapolis, sunny skies and 77 in Chicago, partly cloudy skies with a high of 81 in St. Louis, cloudy and 74 in Detroit. Over on the East Coast, it is partly cloudy skies at 69 degrees, will be 69 degrees in Boston, cloudy and 73 in New York, rainy and 69 in Washington, D.C. Now down south, it will be partly cloudy and 89 in Miami, partly cloudy and 77 in Atlanta, partly cloudy and 81 in Memphis, and partly cloudy and 89 in New Orleans. Down the southwest, it will be sunny and 96 in San Antonio, sunny and 93 in Dallas, sunny and 94 in Houston. Down in the Rockies, it will be sunny and 82 in Denver. We go to the hot spot of the country yet again, being Phoenix, sunny skies with a high of 108 in the desert. It will be sunny and 105 on the Las Vegas Strip. And on the West Coast, it will be partly cloudy skies with a high of 90 in Hollywood. It will be bright, sunny, and warm with a high of 81 in the Bay Area. And that's your look on weather for today. And now you have been properly started up. Coming up later, we will look at the life of Kris Kristofferson, the highwayman goes to heaven. And speaking of heaven, in lighting the way, narrow paths. How true is the narrow path, and what we need to do to get there? That's coming up later. But next, Hurricane Helene and the tropical storm Helene and the tropical depression Helene damage. Woo boy. Extensive and painful. You're watching BS3 Presents the Morning Shift for Cole Johnson and Roku TV via BS3, BS3TVLive.com, and the BS3 Morning Shift Cole Johnson YouTube channel. You're listening to it live on the Real Wise Radio Network, and we'll return right after this.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.
Drew Willingham.
In this case, yeah, you put the blame on Kyle Shanahan for apparently not preparing the team enough for the overtime rules, supposedly.
Cole Johnson. Peyton was considered the winner, and he was the darling of all darlings for Gerald. With a special appearance by Tyrone Alizé McDummy.
Ain't nobody calling me. Text. Delete!
Join these two football enthusiasts as they give you Total Football Talk. Live every Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central on the Sertoba Media and the Comey Media YouTube channels. Are you looking for something to do on your lunch break? Well, there's a show on the BS3 network that has only 4 words to say to you.
We ready. We ready. We ready for y'all. We ready. What? We ready. We ready for y'all.
The Lunch Break, powered by JM&E. Live weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central. Welcome back to BS3 Presents the Morning Shift for Cole Johnson. I am Cole Johnson. And Shifter, it is a pleasure to meet your acquaintance, meet your presence. I am glad that you want to watch me, but if you want to participate along with me, that is an easy answer. Go to the BS3 Morning Shift Cole Johnson YouTube channel. That's the BS3 Morning Shift Cole Johnson YouTube channel, where you can live comment, and if it's within reason, you will have your comment read on air. Oh, you don't believe me? We're about to go to Shifter right now. My man Cool McCain, who later on today will be on Monarchs of Wrestling, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Central. He says, good morning on the morning shift. Well, I'm so sorry that your Eagles took it on the chin yesterday. Hopefully your day goes a whole lot better than Jalen Hurts's and Nick Sirianni's. But I digress. We definitely pray that the day is going better for those who have suffered severe loss. And I do mean severe loss at Hurricane Helene. And in today's program Spotlight, we'll touch on that unfortunate, horrific damage that the hurricane turned tropical storm and depression levied upon the South. Man, just looking at the pictures that I have seen, it's just devastating. Hurricane Helene, which left massive destruction and devastation along the Florida coast since making landfall on Thursday. It's now caused historic flooding and wide-ranging power outages, among other damage, in an 800-mile swath northward of Florida that's affecting both Carolinas, Tennessee, Georgia, and other states too. More than 80 deaths have been attributed to the Category 4 hurricane, which has affected nearly 3 million homes and businesses without power. In North Carolina, high water from excessive rainfall has inundated Asheville and other cities to the point where I-26 and I-40 have been closed due to flooding, terrain damage, and mudslides. And the only way you can actually get to the city, from what I've heard, is via air. USA Today has tried Helene's path of devastation through the southern U.S., and it's just been brutal. So, of course, Thursday made landfall in Florida, Perry, Florida, or near it, with large hurricane force and tropical storm winds. Then on Friday, it entered Georgia as a Category 2 hurricane. Of course, you had winds that were up to 100 miles an hour then, and you had heavy rains that made the Chattahoochee River in Atlanta's banks rise. Then you had the Nolichucky Dam in Tennessee being at high risk for breach. And after the Nolichucky River waters crested, the TVA announced that the dam was stable and secure Saturday afternoon, thankfully. At least 45 people were rescued off the roof of a Unicoi County hospital about 120 miles northeast of Knoxville on Friday afternoon after the facility was surrounded by waters of Helene. And then we get to North Carolina, where you had buildings and bridges in Chimney Rock, which is a village near the popular Chimney Rock State Park, being destroyed by flooding from the Broad River. And as mentioned earlier, the Department of Transportation, North Carolina, they said that more than 400 roads in North Carolina should be considered closed, and that I-40 and I-26 are considered impassable multiple places. And then you have South Carolina weather. On Facebook, the National Weather Service in Greenville and Spartanburg said that the flood and wind damage was, quote, the worst event in our office's history. Now, forecasters warned last Tuesday that a combination of weather patterns would likely soak the region. A front overhead was predicted to interact with a plume of moisture being pulled ahead of Helene. The size of the storm was 350 miles wide. The strength, of course, was 440 miles an hour when it made landfall. The rains were heavy. In North Carolina's mountains alone, the Blue Ridge Mountains alone, rainfall totals were almost 30 inches at Busick and over 24 inches at Mount Mitchell. And the speed of the winds, Helene was moving, or I should say speed of the storm. Helene was moving up to 24 miles an hour offshore and 30 miles per hour on land. Now, as I said, the death toll has been the following. In Virginia, there's 2 that's been responsible for this devastating storm. In Florida, it was 12 so far. In Georgia, it's 17. In South Carolina, it's 24. In North Carolina, it's 36. Our prayers are with every one who was in the path of this storm, and I hope everything goes safely for you in the rebuild. Our thoughts and our prayers are with you. And that is today's cover story. I'm sorry, that's today's program spotlight. Wow. Just the devastation is ridiculous. Man.